The first snow of December had just begun to fall when my daughter Sarah called. Her voice had that forced brightness I'd learned to recognize over our 40 years together. "Mom, I was thinking, maybe you could come spend Christmas with us this year. Noah's been asking about you. I hadn't seen my grandson in 8 months. Not since Sarah married Derek last April. They'd moved to his family's old farmhouse 3 hours north, and somehow every planned visit had fallen through. Car trouble. Derek's work schedule. Noah's school events. Always something." "Of course," I said, gripping the phone tighter than necessary. "I'd love to." The silence that followed lasted just a beat too long. "Great. That's great, Mom. Derek will be so happy." Derek. The man I'd met exactly twice before he became my grandson's stepfather. A veteran, Sarah had told me. Quiet. Dependable. Nothing like Noah's biological father, who'd left when Noah was 3. I'd smiled and hugged Sarah at the wedding, but something in Derek's handshake had felt wrong. Too firm, too controlled, like he was demonstrating strength rather than offering it. I arrived on a Friday evening, my old Honda crunching through fresh snow on the long driveway. The farmhouse stood alone against a darkening sky, surrounded by empty fields and bare trees. The nearest neighbor was half a mile away. I felt that isolation settle over me like a blanket, heavy and cold. Sarah met me at the door. She looked thinner, tired, but her smile was genuine as she pulled me into a hug. "Noah's upstairs," she said. "He's been so excited to see you." I climbed the narrow staircase, my hand trailing along walls that needed paint. The house felt old. Not charming old, just worn, neglected. Noah's room was at the end of the hall. I knocked softly. "Come in." He sat at his desk, hunched over something I couldn't see. When he turned, my heart contracted. This wasn't the bright-eyed boy I'd left 8 months ago. This Noah was pale, thin, with dark circles under his eyes that no 9-year-old should have. "Grandma." He jumped up, then stopped himself, glanced at the door, lowered his voice. "You're really here?" I held out my arms and he came to me, but carefully, like he was afraid of being too loud, too enthusiastic, too much. "Of course I'm here, sweetheart. I missed you so much." He buried his face in my shoulder. I felt him trembling. "Noah. Baby, what's wrong?" He pulled back quickly. Too quickly. "Nothing. I'm just happy to see you." But his eyes said something else entirely. Dinner that night was painfully polite. Derek sat at the head of the table, cutting his meat with precise, controlled movements. He'd barely acknowledged me when I came downstairs, just a nod and a grunt that might have been hello. "Noah." Elbows off the table, he said quietly. Noah's elbows snapped down so fast he nearly knocked over his water glass. "Sorry," my grandson whispered. "Derek likes things a certain way," Sarah said, her voice too bright again. "You know how it is. House rules." I watched Noah eat. Slowly. Carefully. Each bite measured. Chewed exactly 20 times before swallowing. When he reached for his glass, his hand shook slightly. "So, Noah," I said, trying to inject some warmth into the cold room. "Tell me about school. How's 4th grade?" He looked at Derek before answering. Actually looked for permission to speak. "It's okay." "Just okay? What about that science project you were so excited about?" "The one about—" "He's not doing that anymore," Derek interrupted. "Too much mess. Too many materials all over the house. We decided he'd do something simpler." "We decided." Not Noah decided. I looked at Sarah. She was staring at her plate. After dinner, I offered to help Noah with his homework. Derek stood in the doorway of Noah's room the entire time, arms crossed, watching. When Noah made a mistake on a math problem, I saw my grandson flinch before I'd even said anything. "It's okay," I told him gently. "That's why we're practicing." But his hand shook as he erased, as if waiting for something worse than gentle correction. Derek finally left, and I heard the television click on downstairs. "Noah," I whispered. "Is everything?" "I'm really tired, Grandma," he said quickly. "Can we finish tomorrow?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. The old farmhouse creaked and settled around me, and I kept thinking about Noah's trembling hands, the way he'd looked at Derek before speaking, the fear I'd seen flash across his face when he made that simple math mistake. At 2 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hall. Then a sound that made my blood freeze. A child crying. Soft, muffled, like he was trying desperately not to be heard. I slipped out of bed and opened my door a crack. Noah's door was closed, but I could see light underneath it. And then I heard Derek's voice, low and controlled. I said push-ups. Now, please. Noah's voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. I won't forget again. 25? Count them out. And if you stop, we start over. I stood frozen. Every instinct screamed at me to burst in there, to grab my grandson, to run. But something held me back. I needed to understand. I needed evidence. The next morning, Noah came down to breakfast wearing a long-sleeved shirt, despite the fact that Sarah had the heat turned up high. He moved stiffly, like everything hurt. Can I take Noah to town today? I asked Sarah. Maybe get some Christmas shopping done, just the two of us. Derek looked up from his coffee. He's got chores. It's Saturday, I said, keeping my voice pleasant. Surely he can have a day off for Christmas shopping with his grandmother. The silence stretched. Derek's jaw tightened. 1 hour, he finally said. He needs to be back by noon. As soon as we were in my car, Noah exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. Buckle up, sweetheart, I said, and we drove toward town. We made it about 2 miles before he started crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears streaming down his face. I pulled over on the empty country road. Noah, tell me what's happening. I can't, he whispered. He said if I tell anyone it'll be worse. And Mom, she doesn't believe me. She says I'm being dramatic, that he's just trying to help me be disciplined, be a man. My hands gripped the steering wheel. Help me understand. What does Derek do? And then my grandson, my sweet 9-year-old Noah, told me. The training sessions at night. Push-ups until his arms gave out. Standing at attention for hours. Punishments for minor infractions. No dinner if he didn't sit perfectly still during meals. Cold showers if he cried. And the words. The constant cutting words about weakness, about being pathetic, about being nothing like a real man. He says his father trained him the same way, Noah said. That it made him strong. That I need it too. Or I'll be soft. Useless. And your mother? She sees some of it. But he tells her it's discipline. That boys need structure. And she wants him to be happy. She says we're a family now. And families adapt. Noah looked at me with eyes too old for his face. I tried to tell her, Grandma, but she got mad. Said I was trying to ruin her marriage. That I was being difficult. Something broke inside my chest. Noah, sweetheart, listen to me very carefully. None of this is okay. None of this is normal discipline. This is, I stopped myself from saying the word abuse. He was 9. This is wrong. And it needs to stop. But how? His voice cracked. If I say anything, she'll just send me away. She told me last week. Said maybe I'd be happier living somewhere else if I couldn't adjust to Derek's rules. I unbuckled my seatbelt and pulled him to me, and this time he didn't hold back. He sobbed into my shoulder, and I felt each shake of his small body like a knife. I need you to trust me, I said. Can you do that? He nodded against my shoulder. I'm going to fix this. But I need evidence. I need proof of what he's doing. He's too smart, Noah said. He never leaves marks where people can see. And Mom won't listen. Then we'll make her listen. We drove into town, but not to shop. I bought Noah a small digital recorder, the kind students use for lectures. So small it could fit in a pocket. Hide this in your room, I told him. Press this button before you go to sleep. It'll record for 8 hours. What if he finds it? Hide it somewhere he'd never look, inside a stuffed animal, inside a board game box you never play. Can you do that? He nodded, but I saw the fear in his eyes. That night, I waited. At 1:30 a.m. I heard Derek's footsteps again, heard Noah's door open. And this time I stood in the hallway with my phone, recording audio through the closed door. Derek's voice was clear, cold, methodical. Drop and give me 30. You know why. Please, Noah whispered. I tried. I forgot one answer. Just one. Failure is failure. 30 push-ups. Then you'll write, I will not be weak 100 times. The next morning I had 2 recordings, mine from the hallway, and Noah's, which had captured Derek coming in twice more during the night with different training exercises. I waited until Derek left for his weekend shift at the warehouse. Then I sat Sarah down at the kitchen table. I need you to listen to something. I played the recordings, all of them. Sarah's face went white, then red, then white again. That's not. He wouldn't. Sarah, listen to your son's voice. We could hear Noah crying on the recording, pleading, and Derek's response flat and emotionless. Tears are weakness. 20 jumping jacks. Now, my daughter put her head in her hands. I knew he was strict, she whispered, but he said it was for Noah's own good, that boys need strong male role models, that I was too soft. Sarah. I grabbed her hands. This isn't discipline, this is torture. But Derek, he told me about his childhood. His father was military, ran the house like a boot camp. Derek said it made him who he is. And who is he, Sarah? Really look at what he's become. She was crying now. I just wanted Noah to have a father. I wanted us to be a family. A family doesn't break a child to make him fit. The truth of it hit her then. I saw it in her eyes. Horror, shame, and finally determination. We need to get Noah out of here, she said. Today, but it wasn't that simple. When Derek came home that evening, Sarah tried to talk to him. Calmly, rationally, saying that maybe his methods were too intense, that Noah needed a different approach. Derek's face hardened. You're letting your mother poison you against me. I heard the recordings, Derek. I heard what you said to my son. The temperature in the room dropped. He's your son now, Derek said quietly. And he needs discipline, structure. Everything I'm doing is making him stronger. He's 9 years old, I said. He needs love, not boot camp. Derek turned to me, and for the first time I saw something dangerous in his eyes. You don't understand. My father saved me. I was soft, weak, pathetic. He broke that weakness, made me into a man who could survive. Noah needs the same. Your father abused you, Sarah said, and I heard her voice break. And you're doing the same thing to Noah. It's not abuse. It's training. It's hurting him. Pain is part of growth. And there it was, the wall we couldn't break through. In Derek's mind, what he was doing was love. Twisted, damaged, but love nonetheless. He genuinely believed he was saving Noah from his own weakness. Sarah asked him to leave that night. Derek refused. It was his house, he said. His family property. If anyone was leaving, it would be Sarah and her son. So we left. At midnight, while Derek slept, we packed what we could fit in 2 cars. Noah moved like a ghost, silent and efficient, like he'd been trained. As we pulled away from the farmhouse, I looked back and saw Derek standing in the doorway. Just standing there, watching us go. The next weeks were chaos. Sarah filed for divorce and a restraining order. I gave the recordings to the police. They interviewed Noah, and I watched my grandson sit in that sterile room, telling strangers about the worst nights of his life. But the system moved slowly, and Derek's lawyer was good. He painted Derek as a concerned stepfather trying to instill discipline. A military veteran with PTSD who didn't realize his methods were harmful. He agreed to therapy. Enger? Management? Parenting classes? The court was lenient. After all, Derek had never hit Noah, never left visible bruises. The psychological abuse was harder to prove, harder to punish. What saved us was Noah's therapist. Dr. Mitchell was a specialist in childhood trauma, and after 3 sessions, she wrote a detailed report about Noah's symptoms: hypervigilance, anxiety, perfectionism, driven by fear, night terrors, all consistent with prolonged psychological abuse. The judge read that report and granted full custody to Sarah, with Derek's visitation rights suspended pending completion of a year-long treatment program. But the real healing took longer. Noah was in therapy twice a week. Dr. Mitchell was patient, gentle, helping him understand that discipline shouldn't hurt, that making a mistake didn't mean he was weak, that crying didn't make him less of a person. I watched my daughter sit in on those sessions, tears streaming down her face as she realized how deeply she'd failed to protect her son. She'd been so desperate for a complete family that she'd ignored the signs. The flinching, the fear, the trembling hands. I chose a man over my child, she told me one night, her voice broken. What kind of mother does that? One who's learning, I said. and changing, and fighting now. 6 months later, Derek completed his court-mandated therapy. His counselor reported that Derek had begun to understand how his own childhood trauma had warped his view of discipline, that he was working through his PTSD, that he was slowly recognizing the harm he'd caused. He wrote Noah a letter. The court allowed it to be delivered through Dr. Mitchell. I wasn't there when Noah read it, but Sarah told me about it later. Derek had written, "I thought I was making you strong. I thought I was giving you what I never got. Structure, discipline, a path to being a man. But I was wrong. I was giving you what I did get. Fear, pain, the belief that love had to hurt. I'm sorry, Noah. I'm so sorry." Noah didn't write back. Dr. Mitchell said he wasn't ready, and might never be. But something in that letter seemed to shift something in Sarah. She reached out to Derek's therapist and learned the whole story. Derek's father had been a drill sergeant who'd run their home like a military base. Derek's childhood had been push-ups for spilled milk, cold showers for talking back, hours standing at attention for minor infractions. He'd never been hugged, never been told "I love you" without conditions. He thought he was giving Noah a better version, Sarah said. His father used belts and fists. Derek thought using only words and exercises made him better, but pain is pain. It didn't excuse anything, but it explained it. 2 years passed. Noah was 11 now, taller, healthier. The circles under his eyes were gone. He smiled more, laughed more, made mistakes without flinching. He joined a soccer team. The first time he missed a goal, I held my breath waiting for him to fall apart. Instead, he laughed, shook it off, and ran back to position. Sarah squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "That's my boy," she whispered. "That's who he really is." Derek remained in therapy. He'd moved to a small apartment in town. Sometimes I'd see him at the grocery store. He'd nod to me. I'd nod back. We'd both keep walking. Sarah never rekindled the relationship. The divorce was final, but she did allow Derek to send letters to Noah through the therapist. Supervised letters. No pressure for Noah to respond. Noah read them sometimes. Sometimes he didn't. On Noah's 12th birthday, he did something that surprised all of us. He asked Dr. Mitchell if he could meet Derek, just once, in a safe place, with Sarah and Dr. Mitchell present. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. Derek sat across from Noah in Dr. Mitchell's office and said, "I owe you an apology that I can never fully give. I hurt you. I damaged you. I told myself I was helping, but I was just passing on my own pain." Noah listened, then said quietly, "I don't forgive you yet. Maybe I never will. But Dr. Mitchell says understanding why someone hurt you can help you let go of what they did." "I hope someday you can let go," Derek said. "Me too." That was all. They didn't hug, didn't plan another meeting. Noah just needed to say his piece, to see Derek as a broken person rather than a monster. 3 years after we fled that farmhouse, Sarah and Noah moved to a small house near me. Noah was thriving in school. He'd started writing stories about kids who survived difficult things and came out stronger. His teacher said he had real talent. One evening, I found him at my kitchen table working on a story. "What's this one about?" I asked. "A boy who learns that being strong doesn't mean never feeling afraid," he said. "It means feeling afraid and asking for help anyway." I kissed the top of his head. "That's very wise. Dr. Mitchell told me that," he admitted. "But I think I finally understand it." Last month, Noah turned 13. He wanted to do something special to mark the occasion, something meaningful. "I want to talk to other kids," he told Sarah and me. "Kids who are going through what I went through. I want them to know they're not alone, that it's not their fault, that asking for help isn't weak." So Sarah arranged for Noah to speak at a local community center's youth group. I sat in the back and watched my grandson, now a teenager, stand in front of 20 kids and say, "I'm going to tell you about the hardest thing I've ever been through, and how I survived it." He told them about the fear, the confusion, the belief that he deserved it because he wasn't good enough. And then he told them about speaking up, about people who listened, about therapy and healing and learning to be okay again. "If someone is hurting you," he said, his voice steady, "it's not discipline, it's not love, it's not making you stronger, it's just hurting you, and you deserve better." When he finished, 3 kids came up to him. One was crying. Another looked scared. The third just said, "Thank you." Sarah stood beside me, tears streaming down her face. "He turned his pain into purpose," she whispered. "He learned from the strongest person I know," I said, squeezing her hand. "His mother. We still have hard days. Noah still has nightmares sometimes. Sarah still carries guilt. Derek is still in therapy, working through decades of trauma. But we're healing. Slowly. Imperfectly. Together. And that farmhouse? Sarah sold it last year. The new owners have 3 kids who play loudly in the yard, who make messes, who are allowed to be children. Sometimes when I drive past, I hear their laughter carrying across those empty fields, filling the space where silence and fear used to live. That sound, more than anything, feels like victory. Because we broke the cycle. We stopped the pattern. We chose love over control, healing over tradition, compassion over cruelty. And now, when Noah makes a mistake, he knows he's safe. When he cries, he knows he's allowed. When he's afraid, he knows he can speak. That's what real strength looks like. Not the kind that comes from pain and punishment. The kind that comes from being broken and choosing to heal anyway. The kind that comes from being loved exactly as you are.